Elders made her shift to end her bloodline. A diamond wolf rose, and every ancient statue turned. The kingdom of Urindor lay beneath a sky that never fully surrendered to night or day. Mist hung like a veil over the frozen forests, and the mountains surrounding the capital city seemed carved from stone by some patient, immortal hand. The castle of House Valen rose like a crown of black crystal at the heart of the city, its towers piercing the dim sky, casting shadows that moved as if alive. Within those walls, secrets older than the oldest trees waited for their moment. Princess Selara Valen moved through the cold corridors, her footsteps soft against the polished obsidian floors. Her hair, silver like the light of the moon filtered through frost, flowed behind her, a ribbon of pale fire. Even in her youth, there was a weight in her eyes, a quiet knowledge of the power that slept in her blood. The elders had whispered about it since she was a child, their voices trembling with fear and respect. The diamond wolf, a force of both destruction and salvation, hidden in her veins. Tonight the elders had summoned her. They were figures cloaked in black velvet and silver embroidery, their faces partially hidden beneath hoods, voices low and deliberate. Selara had always obeyed, though with a growing unease that now gnawed at her like a wolf at the edge of a bone. "You know why you are here," one elder said, his voice smooth, echoing faintly off the walls. His fingers, long and pale, rested on the edge of a carved obsidian table. "The prophecy is nearing its hour. The diamond wolf must either be released or sealed. The bloodline must end." Selara's chest tightened. She had lived her entire life knowing this night would come, yet the reality of it made her stomach churn. To shift her essence, to give herself over to the ritual they demanded, meant she would cease to be fully herself. Her family's lineage would end with her. "I understand," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. It was true, though it felt hollow even to her. She understood the words but not the ache that would follow. The elders nodded, their faces shadowed beneath their hoods. One of them, older than the rest, a woman whose eyes seemed to hold the weight of centuries, stepped forward. "Remember, child, the statues remember. The old kings and queens they watch. They will guide you if you can hear them." Selara followed them down a long hall lined with statues of her ancestors. The marble eyes seemed lifelike in the torchlight, glimmering as though the souls of those long dead still lingered in the stone. She had grown up among these silent watchers, their presence both comforting and terrifying. Tonight, their gaze felt heavier, as if judging not only her actions but her very thoughts. The ritual chamber was vast, circular, and cold. Symbols etched in silver and crystal dust shimmered along the floor, catching the dim light and reflecting it like frozen stars. Candles floated in midair, their flames steady, casting dancing shadows on the walls. The air smelled faintly of iron and frost, sharp and alive. Selara knelt in the center of the circle, her hands trembling despite her efforts to still them. She could feel the stirrings of the diamond wolf inside her, a heartbeat that was not her own, a pulse of raw power that made the hairs on her arms rise. It was both exhilarating and terrifying. From the shadows emerged Kale, the elder's champion and cursed knight. His armor was dark, etched with silver runes, and his eyes, pale as winter ice, met hers for a fleeting moment. There was no warmth there, only a faint understanding, a mirror of her own loneliness. "You do not have to fear it," he said softly, kneeling beside the circle. His voice was quiet but carried a weight that made her heart skip. "It is part of you, part of what you were born to carry." Selara wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe that the power inside her, dangerous as it was, could somehow be tamed. And yet the fear remained, coiled in her chest like a living thing. The elders began to chant, a low, vibrating sound that seemed to travel through the floor and walls, wrapping around her like a cold embrace. She closed her eyes, willing herself to remember her training, her breathing, her control. But the diamond wolf stirred, restless. its presence brushing against her mind with the subtle threat of claws and teeth, of freedom that could not be restrained. Images flashed behind her eyelids, forests burning in silver light, wolves with eyes of crystal running through shadows, statues turning slowly to face her with accusatory stares. She shivered, but she did not falter. She had to endure. The ritual demanded a choice, though the elders never told her what it might cost. To shift, she would surrender part of herself, a fragment of her essence, to the ancient magic. And yet she felt the diamond wolf pressing against her soul, whispering in a language older than words, older than human understanding. "You are stronger than you think," Kale murmured, his hand brushing hers for a brief moment. It was enough to anchor her, if only slightly, in the world she knew. The elders' chant rose, louder, more insistent. The symbols on the floor glowed and the candles flickered wildly, casting strange, moving shadows. Solara opened her eyes to see the statues beginning to shift. At first just their heads turned, slowly, deliberately. Then their eyes, black and hollow, began to shimmer with life, watching her as if waiting for her to fail. Her heart thundered. Fear and awe battled within her. She could feel the diamond wolf straining inside, eager to break free. The power that had always been latent now demanded recognition, demanded release. She felt its voice, a mixture of growl and whisper. "Do not surrender. Become what you are." Solara's breath caught. The temptation was powerful. She wanted to give in, to let the wolf rise and feel the freedom of her true self, but the elders' chant cut through her mind like a blade. She was not yet ready. Not here. Not now. "Solara," Kale said urgently, his voice slicing through the chant. "Hold it. You must choose, but not like this. Not yet." The statue's eyes glowed brighter, and the low rumble of the diamond wolf grew into a resonant roar inside her chest. She could not tell if it came from the statues, from the ritual, or from within herself. The circle's light pulsed, and for a moment the world seemed to hang in perfect, unbearable suspension. And then a voice echoed, not from the elders, not from the wolf, but from the oldest statue in the hall, carved from black stone. "The bloodline will not end willingly." "Not while she still breathes." Solara froze. The words cut through the room, through the chant, through her fear. She opened her eyes to see the statue's marble face tilting, the eyes glinting like cold fire. She felt in that instant the immense weight of generations pressing down on her shoulders, the lives and sins of her ancestors flowing into her, demanding obedience, demanding survival, demanding choice. Her knees buckled and Kale caught her, steadying her with strong hands. She could feel the tremor of power beneath his fingers, the same pulse she felt in herself, as if he too carried a fragment of the ancient magic, though bound and hidden by the elder's curse. Solara's mind raced. She could feel the diamond wolf clawing against her soul, threatening to take control. And yet she could not move, could not obey, could not let go. The tension was unbearable, a living thing coiled around her heart, tightening with every breath. The elders' chant faltered, and one by one the candles dimmed. The statues stopped their slow turning, their eyes still locked on Solara. And in the silence that followed, the diamond wolf whispered in a voice she alone could hear, "Do you fear what you might become, or do you fear what they might force you to be?" Solara's heart pounded. She did not answer, for there was no answer that could satisfy the weight of destiny pressing upon her. All she could do was stare into the cold, lifelike eyes of her ancestors and feel the tremor of power, both hers and not hers, rising beneath her skin. Then, as the first rays of a gray dawn touched the castle's highest tower, a sound broke through everything, a low, resonant growl echoing from the walls, the floor, the very air around her. The statues' heads turned fully now, their gaze burning like molten crystal, and Solara felt in that moment that the world had changed. The diamond wolf inside her stirred violently, its presence undeniable, and she realized with a mix of fear and longing that nothing would ever be the same again. Kale's voice broke through her reverie, calm but urgent. They are watching, Selara. And they will not forgive hesitation. Selara swallowed hard, her lips dry, her pulse racing. She rose slowly, meeting the gaze of the statues and the pulse of the diamond wolf within her. Somewhere deep, a choice waited, one she did not yet understand but would have to face. And in that silent hall, filled with shadows, ancient stone, and the scent of frost and magic, she knew one thing with perfect clarity. The elders had set her on a path from which there was no turning back. The statues remained, eyes glowing, waiting for her next move. And the diamond wolf whispered again, softer this time, almost like a caress. The night is not over. Neither are you. Selara's hand brushed against Kale's, her fingers trembling. She could feel his strength, his caution, his loyalty. Yet even in his presence, she felt the stirrings of something greater, something wild, dangerous, and beautiful awakening within her. The night stretched on, endless and frozen, and the princess understood the truth of the prophecy. To survive, to live, she would have to face not only the elders' command but the beast within her own heart. And the statues, they would not forgive hesitation. The frost still clung to the castle walls, though the first pale light of dawn brushed the towers with silver. The statues in the throne hall remained, their eyes glowing faintly, their stone faces frozen in silent judgment. Princess Selara had not slept. How could she? The diamond wolf inside her throbbed with restless energy, a living presence coiled around her heart, whispering, urging, waiting. She could not forget the growl that had echoed through the hall, the way Kale's hand had steadied hers even as her own pulse seemed to tear her apart. She rose from the floor, brushing the cold from her knees. The elders were gone, or perhaps they had never truly been present, just shadows and voice, guiding her, controlling her, shaping her destiny. Selara could not tell. She only knew that the ritual had not ended, that the shift the elders demanded had begun and faltered, leaving her suspended between who she was and what the diamond wolf wanted her to be. Kale waited in the corridor, his silhouette tall and rigid in the morning light. He did not speak immediately. He simply watched her, and Selara felt the weight of his gaze. There was worry there, yes, but more than that, a quiet, unspoken knowledge of the danger that pulsed beneath her skin. "Selara," he said finally, his voice low and careful. "You are different. The shift, it did not complete. That is why you are still yourself, and why you are not." Her lips parted, but no words came. She did not know how to explain the roar inside her chest, the eyes that sometimes blinked behind her own, the whispers she could hear when the wind moved through the empty halls. She had felt power before, yes, but never like this. It was a presence that watched her as much as she watched it, a wild, aching strength that refused to be tamed. Kale approached, kneeling to meet her eyes. "I have seen others like you," he said quietly. "Not many. Those who carry such a force rarely survive it. The elders think they can control it, but they cannot." Selara's hands clenched. "Then why did they make me do it?" Her voice was bitter, sharp with frustration. "Why force me into a ritual meant to end me?" Kale's eyes flickered with something she could not name, regret perhaps, or sorrow. "Because they are afraid, afraid of what you could become. Afraid that if you choose your own path, the kingdom will change, and they cannot bear change." She wanted to argue, to tell him that fear had no place in her decisions. But the truth was heavier than words. Even now, as the sun rose over the frost-tipped towers, she felt the diamond wolf stirring inside, and it whispered not just power but freedom. A freedom that terrified her. "I can feel it," she said, her voice trembling. "It wants something. It wants me to let it rise, to give in." Kale's hand found hers again, steady and warm. Not yet. You are not ready. If you let it take over, there may be no turning back." Selara closed her eyes and felt the wolf pressing, brushing against the edges of her mind like the wind against a frozen lake. It was not cruel, but insistent. It promised strength, power, a way to rise above fear and doubt. And yet beneath the promise there was danger, a sharp, icy edge she could not ignore. "I don't know if I can control it," she whispered. Kale leaned closer, his voice low, almost a caress. "Then we will find a way together. You are not alone, Selara, not while I am here." She opened her eyes to meet his, and for a moment something fragile bloomed between them, a quiet trust, a small comfort amidst the chaos that had claimed her life. But it was fragile indeed, for the castle was no longer a safe place, and the elders were waiting, patient and unseen, like spiders beneath the ice. The forest called to her. She could feel it through the castle walls, through the stones of the statues, through the wind that seeped through the cracks. It whispered her name, carried secrets older than the castle itself. And she knew that she had to leave, at least for a while, to understand what had been awakened inside her. Kale did not protest. Instead, he gathered his cloak, slinging it over his shoulders with quiet efficiency. "Then we go," he said. "But you must promise me one thing, no surrender. Not to them, not to the wolf, not yet." Selara nodded, the words solidifying her resolve. Together, they slipped through the corridors, past sleeping guards and the cold eyes of the statues, and into the forest that clung to the edge of the kingdom. The forest was alive in a way the castle never had been. Frost sparkled on every branch, each snow-laden twig bending under its weight. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying secrets, warnings, and half-forgotten memories. Selara felt the diamond wolf stirring stronger here, freer among the shadows of silvered trunks. It spoke not in words but in sensations, thrills, whispers, a heartbeat in her chest that was not entirely hers. They walked in silence for a long time, the snow crunching beneath their feet. Kale was steady, always near, his presence a tether to the world she had not yet fully understood. Selara's thoughts were a storm of fear, curiosity, and longing. The forest seemed to watch them too, as if alive in a way beyond the ordinary. And perhaps it was. After hours they reached a clearing where ancient statues stood in ruins, half buried beneath snow and ice. The forms were familiar, yet not. Kings and queens long dead, their eyes blank or cracked, stared at them from the frost. Selara stepped closer, drawn despite herself. She could feel something in the stones, a pulse, a heartbeat faint but unmistakable. "They remember," she whispered. "Even in this state they remember." Kale nodded, his eyes scanning the shadows. "The old ones leave traces in the world. Magic does not die so easily. But sometimes, memory can hurt as much as power." Selara reached out to touch a statue, cold marble beneath her fingertips. She shivered as a strange warmth seeped into her hand, a sensation that was not entirely comfortable, not entirely human. The diamond wolf stirred, restless, pressing against her thoughts, whispering of strength, hunger, and freedom. "You must be careful," Kale said, reading her expression. "The wolf, it is patient, and it tests those it lives within." She pulled her hand back, but not before seeing something in the statue's face, a faint glimmer of recognition, as though the ancestor understood what she carried. Fear mixed with fascination in her chest. Was it possible that the wolf's awakening could be guided? Or would it consume her, leaving only power and nothing else? A sudden sound shattered the quiet. Snow shifted, branches snapped, and Selara spun toward the noise. A figure emerged from the mist, a woman, cloaked in white, with eyes that gleamed like ice and hair that shimmered silver in the pale light. Selara felt her heart constrict. She knew this figure, though she had never met her in life. "You cannot run from what you carry," the woman said, her voice echoing strangely, like wind through hollow stone. "The bloodline is not yet ended, child, but it will be unless you surrender yourself fully." Selara felt the diamond wolf roar within her, an instinctive response to the figure's presence. Kale stepped in front of her, sword at the ready, though the woman made no move to attack. Instead, she tilted her head, studying Selara with quiet intensity. "Who are you?" Selara demanded, voice trembling. "I am the echo of what came before," the woman replied. A queen who tried and failed, whose power burned too bright for the world to contain. I am warning you, you cannot choose without knowing the cost. Celara's mind spun. The forest seemed to close in around them, shadows twisting unnaturally, statues half buried in snow seeming to shift and watch. She felt the diamond wolf surge, its pulse resonating with her own heartbeat, a wild, insistent rhythm. Kale's hand found hers again. Do not let fear rule you. Listen, but do not obey blindly. You are not them. You are Celara. The woman in white smiled faintly. Perhaps, but will you survive the wolf's hunger? Will you survive the elder's plan? Celara's chest tightened. She wanted answers, certainty, but the forest offered none. Only questions, echoes, and the pull of power that stirred inside her. As the woman stepped back, fading into the mist, the statues around the clearing seemed to shift ever so slightly. Eyes that had been blank now gleamed faintly, and Celara felt a cold, undeniable awareness. They were watching her, remembering her, judging her. And she realized that wherever she went, whatever she chose, she could not escape their gaze. Kale squeezed her hand. We move forward, he said. We find a way to understand it before it understands you completely. Celara nodded, though a storm of fear and longing raged inside her. The diamond wolf growled, a sound felt more in the chest than heard, as if testing her, daring her. She knew the journey ahead would be more dangerous than she could imagine. The clearing fell silent once more, but Celara did not move immediately. Her gaze lingered on the half-buried statues, the frozen forest, and the faint traces of the white-cloaked figure. Questions swirled like snow in the wind. What did the wolf truly want? Could she survive its hunger? And when the elders returned, would she still be herself, or something else entirely? A howl broke the silence, not far, not near, but everywhere at once. Celara's heart leapt. The diamond wolf within her answered, not with words but with power, stirring, waking, demanding. The forest seemed to shiver with it, the statues seemed to lean closer, the shadows stretching like fingers toward her. She glanced at Kale. His face was calm, but his eyes held the truth she knew. The path forward would not be gentle, and the wolf would not wait. And in that moment, Celara understood. The kingdom she had known was gone. The bloodline she had been meant to end was not yet finished. And the wolf inside her was no longer silent. The forest whispered again, colder and more insistent. The statues shifted. The wolf called. Celara inhaled, bracing herself. The journey had begun, and there was no turning back. The forest had grown darker as they moved deeper. Even in daylight, a shadow seemed to cling to the snow-dusted branches, twisting the shapes of trees into figures that almost looked alive. Celara's breath rose in little clouds before her, each one trembling with the lingering power of the diamond wolf, coiling in her chest like a living flame. Kale walked beside her, silent but alert. He had been quiet since they entered the forest, letting Celara move freely while he watched the shadows. Though he said nothing, his presence was steady, grounding her, anchoring her against the storm of power rising within her. The statues of the old kings and queens appeared again, half buried in ice and moss, their eyes blank but somehow aware. Celara approached one, brushing the frost from its face. The cold marble felt strangely warm under her fingertips, a pulse beneath the stone that mirrored the diamond wolf in her chest. "They remember," she whispered, voice low and trembling. "Even here, even after all this time, they remember me." Kale nodded. Memory and magic linger where power has passed. Some of them are warning you, some testing you. His eyes scanned the surrounding trees, pale and cautious. You must learn to listen without giving in. The wolf is strong. It is patient. It will wait for weakness. Celara closed her eyes. She could feel the wolf stirring, brushing against her mind, testing her limits. Its voice was not cruel, not hostile. It was a presence that demanded attention, that promised strength and freedom, a path that was both beautiful and dangerous. "I don't know if I can control it," Celara admitted. "It feels endless. It wants something I cannot give." Kale reached for her hand, his fingers firm and warm. "You are stronger than you think, and you are not alone. The wolf is a part of you, yes, but it is not all of you. You must remember that." Solara opened her eyes to meet his gaze, and for the first time in days she felt a spark of hope. Even amidst the shadows and the whispers of the forest, even as the statues seemed to watch her every move, she was not alone. Kale's presence gave her courage, a tether to the human world she feared losing. They continued walking until they reached a clearing unlike any other. The snow was untouched here, sparkling like crushed diamonds in the pale sunlight. At the center of the clearing stood a single flower, impossibly vibrant amid the frost, a rose made of crystal, each petal glimmering like a shard of ice and light. Solara gasped, her hand reaching toward it instinctively. The diamond wolf stirred violently, pulling at her, resonating with the flower in a way she could feel in her bones. Kale placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. "The diamond wolf rose," he said softly. "Legend says it blooms only when love and sacrifice meet. It can anchor power, channel it without destroying the one who carries it. It may be the key to your survival." Solara knelt before the flower, trembling. Its light reflected in her silver eyes, mingling with the pulse of the wolf inside her. She could feel her heartbeat syncing with the rhythm of the rose, a gentle, steady pull that was both frightening and comforting. "How?" she asked, voice barely audible. "How does it work?" Kale knelt beside her, studying the flower with careful attention. "It requires a choice," he said. "You must give something of yourself, your fear, your doubt, your loneliness, and let the rose transform it into strength. But it is not easy. It tests the heart as much as it tests the body." Solara swallowed. She could feel the diamond wolf thrumming in her chest, its energy tense and coiled, like a spring ready to snap. It wanted release. It wanted freedom. And yet she also felt something new, a fragile trust in Kale, a bond that had grown through shared danger, fear, and quiet moments of understanding. The snow around the rose seemed to shimmer and shift as she reached toward it. Her fingers brushed the petals, cold but alive, and for a moment the world fell silent. The diamond wolf growled low, rumbling inside her like thunder beneath snow. Its energy pressed against her mind, urging her to surrender, to embrace what she was meant to become. Solara hesitated. She wanted to give in, to feel the full weight of her power, to let the wolf rise and consume the fear and doubt she had carried all her life. But she remembered Kale's words, the warmth of his hand, the strength in his eyes. She remembered that she was more than the wolf, more than a prophecy. She was herself. Taking a deep breath, Solara closed her eyes and whispered into the quiet clearing, "I am ready." The rose shimmered brighter, light spilling over the snow like molten crystal. Solara felt a surge of energy, a pulse that moved from the rose into her, mingling with the diamond wolf in a way that was almost painful in its intensity. The wolf growled, louder this time, testing her resolve. Solara held steady, anchoring herself with Kale's hand and the warmth of her own heart. Hours seemed to pass in minutes as the energy of the rose and the wolf merged. Solara felt every fear, every doubt, every memory of loneliness, every whisper of the elder's judgment drawn into the rose's light. The diamond wolf shuddered inside her chest, but gradually it calmed, its pulse syncing with the rhythm of the flower. Finally, Solara opened her eyes. The rose glowed softly, its petals shimmering with a quiet power. The diamond wolf inside her had settled, its energy tempered, anchored to something larger, something beautiful. She felt herself whole again, but stronger than before, a fusion of human and wolf, fear and power, choice and destiny. Kale watched her closely, eyes softening as he took in her calm, steady presence. "You did it," he said quietly. "You faced it and you survived." Solara nodded, but the relief was tempered by the awareness that their journey was far from over. The elders would not forgive her defiance, and the forest, though beautiful, was still alive with unseen eyes and whispers. "Do you feel it?" she asked, voice low. The statues, the forest, they are still watching us. Kale's gaze swept across the surrounding trees and ruins. Yes, he admitted. They remember, they always remember, but they are not your enemies. They are the past, waiting to see if the present is worthy of carrying their memory forward. Selara allowed herself a small smile. For the first time, she felt a glimmer of hope that she could survive, that she could control the power inside her without losing herself to it. Yet beneath that hope, a shadow lingered, the memory of the white-cloaked figure in the forest, the warning of past queens who had failed. "We should move," Kale said, breaking her reverie. "The elders will come. They will not forgive hesitation nor weakness." Selara nodded. She rose, brushing snow from her dress, and glanced once more at the diamond wolf rose. Its light pulsed gently, a quiet promise of strength and guidance. Somewhere deep inside, the wolf stirred again, a reminder that her power was alive and always watching. As they made their way back toward the path leading to the kingdom, the forest seemed to shift. Shadows moved where there had been none, and the wind carried voices, soft, distant, but unmistakably human. Selara froze. "Do you hear that?" she whispered. Kale's eyes narrowed, scanning the tree line. "Yes, be ready, they are coming." The snow shifted beneath them, and then from the shadows figures began to emerge. Not soldiers, not animals, but statues, animated, living, moving. The kings and queens of old, their eyes molten gold, advanced slowly, silently, toward them. Selara's heart pounded. The diamond wolf stirred, brushing against her mind like a warning. Kale stepped in front of her, sword drawn, though Selara realized it was not swords they would face. The statues moved with purpose, their gaze fixed on her, as though judging the use of the power she now carried. "You have awakened something you cannot yet control," a voice whispered through the wind, echoing from the forest, from the statues, from the snow itself. "And the elders will not forgive it." Selara gritted her teeth. She could feel the diamond wolf's presence surge, but this time it was different. It was not demanding. It was waiting, observing, offering strength if she chose to take it. Kale's hand found hers again, grounding her. "Whatever comes, we face it together," he said. Selara nodded, her gaze fixed on the approaching statues. They were not enemies, not yet, but neither were they allies. They were the past made flesh, waiting to see if she would rise, if she would fail, if she could survive what the elders had set into motion. The snow swirled around them, cold and biting, carrying whispers of prophecy, warning, and challenge. Selara took a deep breath, feeling the diamond wolf settle into a rhythm within her, the rose's light still glowing in the distance, and the forest alive with anticipation. And then one of the statues stepped closer, its golden eyes locking on hers. Its marble lips moved, forming words she felt more than heard. "Choose, child. Bloodline or power, love or legacy. Choose before all else is lost." Selara's heart clenched. The forest, the statues, the wolf, Kale, they all waited. And she understood with a weight that pressed down through her bones. The journey ahead would test everything she knew about strength, loyalty, and the power of the heart. The statues moved closer, the air thick with magic and expectation, and the diamond wolf roared softly inside her. She could feel it, a promise and a warning all at once. The path forward was no longer clear. And yet, Selara knew she had no choice but to step into it. The castle of Urindor loomed before them, taller, colder, and more oppressive than ever. Selara and Kale had returned from the forest, their bodies weary but their spirits sharpened by the trials of the diamond wolf rose. The snow around the castle had melted into a silver sheen, reflecting the pale light of dawn. Yet the air was heavy, thick with the whispers of the elders, the statues, and the power that had awakened within Selara. Selara's hand brushed against the rose she carried carefully in a small crystal container. Its petals shimmered faintly, radiating warmth that pulsed in time with her own heartbeat. The diamond wolf inside her had settled into a rhythm, coiling calmly but always aware, always watching. It was no longer a threat, at least not yet. Kale walked beside her, silent as ever, his eyes scanning the towers. There was tension in every movement he made, the quiet vigilance of someone who had seen too much darkness to trust it easily. "The elders know you returned," he said softly. "They will come, and they will not be gentle." Solara nodded. She had expected nothing less. "Then we face them," she said. "Together." The main hall of the castle was filled with the elders, their black and silver robes moving like shadows across the floor. Their eyes glimmered with the cold fire of authority and fear. They did not speak immediately, simply observing Solara as though measuring the distance between prophecy and reality. "You survived," one elder said at last, his voice like ice scraping stone. "The ritual should have ended you. The diamond wolf should have consumed you, or the forest should have taken you." Solara stepped forward, keeping her gaze steady. "I am here," she said simply, "and I am not just a tool for your fears. I am Solara, and I will decide my own path." The elders exchanged glances, a silent acknowledgment of her defiance. One of them, older than the rest, a woman whose face seemed carved from shadow and frost, spoke with deliberate precision. "You carry a power that could destroy kingdoms. You carry a wolf that is not entirely your own. Yet you have survived and returned, but at what cost?" Solara lifted the diamond wolf rose. Its petals glowed softly in the hall's dim light. "At the cost of my fear," she said. "At the cost of letting go of doubt. I have faced the wolf inside me, and it serves me, not the other way around." The elders murmured, unease threading their voices. They had never expected her to survive, never expected her to return with her mind intact and her power controlled. The statues lining the hall, once still, silent, shifted slightly, their eyes reflecting gold and silver light as though acknowledging her courage. A low, rumbling growl echoed in Solara's chest. The diamond wolf inside her had awakened fully, tempered now by the rose, ready to stand as a part of her, not a force beyond her. Kale's hand brushed against hers, grounding her. He could feel it too, the pulse of power, alive but contained, waiting for direction. The elders advanced slowly, their robes swaying like shadows against the polished floor. "You have defied us," one said. "You have awakened what we could not control. This kingdom is not yours to command." Solara met their gaze. "It is mine," she said. "Not to command, but to protect. The power I carry is not a weapon for fear. It is a responsibility, and I will use it wisely." The statues along the walls shifted more, slowly coming to life, stepping from their pedestals with the weight of centuries. The air seemed to thrum with magic as their eyes glimmered, watching every movement, measuring her worth. The elders faltered slightly, their authority challenged not just by Solara but by the presence of those long-dead rulers. Kale drew his sword and stepped forward. "We are not here to fight you," he said, his voice calm but firm. "We are here to protect her. If you seek control, you will not succeed." Solara felt the diamond wolf stir, its power flowing through her like a tide. She did not resist it, but she did not surrender either. She lifted her hands, letting the soft glow of the rose radiate outward. The magic pulsed, and the statues moved closer, circling the elders. For a moment, even the most powerful of them seemed small, diminished in the presence of centuries of memory and the force Solara now commanded. "You cannot take this from me," she said, her voice steady, echoing through the hall. "I am the diamond wolf. I am the bloodline. And I will protect this kingdom, not for fear but for hope." The elders faltered, their chants failing, their authority cracking under the pressure of her will and the magic of the statues. One by one, they fell silent, recognizing, perhaps unwillingly, that Solara's choice had shifted the balance of power in the kingdom. A sudden wind swept through the hall, swirling snow and dust, carrying the faintest whisper of the white-cloaked queen from the forest. Solara felt the weight of generations within her chest, the lives of those who had tried and failed, their regrets, their wisdom, and she understood. She could honor them all, not by ending her bloodline, not by surrendering her power, but by guiding it, shaping it, and letting it grow. The statues lowered their gaze, kneeling slightly before her. Even the elders, humbled and silent, could not ignore what had been accomplished. Solara felt a calm settle over her, the diamond wolf coiling peacefully, the rose's light steady, warm, and alive. Kale's hand found hers once more. "You did it," he said softly. "You chose your path and survived." Solara nodded, allowing herself a small, exhausted smile. "We did it," she said. "Together." The elders turned and left the hall, their robes trailing like shadows across the polished floor. The statues remained, silent but alive, guardians of the magic and memory that Solara now carried. The castle itself seemed to exhale, as if acknowledging the change that had passed through its halls. Outside, the sun rose over Urindor, bathing the kingdom in pale gold light. The frost melted into rivers of silver, and the wind carried a new promise, a kingdom reborn under the protection of the last of the Valen bloodline. Solara and Kale walked to the castle's highest tower. The diamond wolf rose glowing softly in her hands. She gazed over the kingdom, feeling the pulse of magic in the land, the quiet watchfulness of the statues, the presence of the wolf within her, calm and powerful. "You can rest now," Kale said, his voice quiet. "The elders will not return immediately, and the power inside you, it is balanced." Solara allowed herself a deep breath. She had been tested by magic, by fear, by prophecy, and by the very force that lived inside her, and she had survived. Not because she was stronger than the wolf, but because she had chosen to guide it, to coexist with it, and to embrace her destiny. Yet even as she felt triumph, a shadow lingered in her thoughts, the memory of the white-cloaked queen's warning, the feeling that some forces were still watching, waiting, and testing her resolve. Solara's journey had changed her, but it was far from over. She turned to Kale, her eyes softening. "I could not have done this without you," she said. "You anchored me when I thought I would fall." Kale's expression softened, a rare moment of openness breaking through his usual reserve. "And you gave me a reason to fight," he said. "Not just for you, but for the hope this kingdom deserves. The wolf inside you, it is a gift, Solara, not a curse. And you are more than you ever imagined." The diamond wolf stirred in her chest at his words, not with hunger, but with something almost like approval. Solara smiled, feeling a quiet bond between herself and the power she carried. It was no longer something to fear. It was part of her, a companion as much as it was a force. As they stood together in the tower, the diamond wolf rose glowing softly between them. The statues of the castle seemed to shimmer in the distance, bowing slightly, as if acknowledging her choice. The past, the present, and the future converged in a quiet, powerful moment, a balance that had taken years to achieve. But even in this moment of calm, the wind carried a whisper, faint yet clear. "The bloodline has survived, but the world is not yet finished testing you." Solara felt the stir of the diamond wolf again, a reminder that even victory was only part of the journey. Kale squeezed her hand, steady and unwavering. Together they would face whatever came next, the wolf and the rose guiding them, the statues watching, and the kingdom waiting for its last princess to define its future. The sun rose higher, the frost melting into rivers of silver, and Solara knew with certainty that she had survived the impossible, not by denying the power within her, but by embracing it, guiding it, and transforming it into something new. And somewhere in the forest, hidden beyond the mountains, a figure watched, cloaked in white, eyes glimmering with both approval and challenge. The test was not over, but Solara had passed the first and greatest trial. The diamond wolf inside her purred softly, coiling in contentment. The diamond wolf rose glimmered in the sunlight. And Solara, last of her bloodline, bearer of power and chosen of prophecy, breathed deeply, ready for whatever the world would demand next. The statues had turned. The bloodline endured, and the story, like the wolf and the rose, was alive.